Scott Becker at the Becker Private Equity Business Podcast. Here are about 10 stories that we're following today, and thank you for listening. First is a story from Becker's Healthcare. Ilan Condon reports that healthcare bankruptcies have hit a 5-year high this past year, and you see and hear more about that in terms of hospitals and health systems having bankruptcy problems, as well as big provider groups. Also, recently, Steward Healthcare struggling tremendously. They are private equity funded, over leveraged. They've hired restructuring advisors. A second healthcare story I'll just touch on right away is before we get into the other business stories. Humana Healthcare, Humana Inc., reporting a devastating quarter, down about 24% year to date so far, showing that Medicare Advantage is becoming a lot less profitable for the big payers. Hospitals and consumers are also finding that they're not loving Medicare Advantage. Third story following today, Salesforce again hits the layoff button, lays off 700 jobs. Next, Intel Corporation drops 10% pre-market on weaker earnings and a softer outlook. Fifth, IBM rises 9.5% yesterday. Sixth, Xerox. Talk about two names from the past, IBM and Xerox. Xerox also jumped 10% yesterday. Next, the markets are poised to open lower this morning, but a lower inflation report has turned that around some, and so the markets are looking a little bit up today. The beauty of the wealth effect, the beauty of the markets going in the right direction, aside from able to afford different things, it also leaves us more inclined to give to charity, which I think is a terrific thing. God bless. Next story, layoffs. The discussion in the Wall Street Journal about when layoffs happen, remote workers are more likely to be hit harder. The next story, one of our last stories today, another story from the Wall Street Journal, is M&A starts to pick up. People are starting to hit this balance between pricing on the buy side and the sell side by more use of earnouts. And there's a story in the Wall Street Journal about that today. Not surprising, but interesting. Next, Levi Strauss to cut jobs. And finally today, Reuters reports that Visa reporting a very soft forecast for earnings and revenues next year. So we'll see how that goes. Again, a lot going on in the news. Healthcare bankruptcies, inflation down a little bit. The market's better than expected today. Salesforce laying some people off. IBM and Xerox, names from the past, up. Humana down. Just a lot going on in the business world. Thank you for listening to the Becker Private Equity Business Podcast. At any time, feel free to text Scott Becker, 773-766-5322, with any of your comments and thoughts and questions or topics you'd like us to cover. Thank you for listening to the Becker Private Equity Business Podcast. Thank you.